Join me in welcoming Jason Duncan. Hey, Jason, how are you doing today?
I am good. It's a great day. Today is my birthday, so it's a good day, and the day that my book launches. So double good.
Yeah, absolutely. And happy birthday to you. And I probably should have said the real Jason Duncan.
That's right. Don't you forget it.
Absolutely. So, tell us a little bit about who you are and how you show up in the world.
So I'm an entrepreneur. I own a lot of different businesses. I own seven right now, and I have in the past total founded about 12 companies. But the thing that I spend most of my time doing is as a business coach. And so I work with entrepreneurs on how to exit their business without selling them. I call it exit without exiting. So professionally, my vision, what I want to see happen is I want to see 100,000 entrepreneurs set free from the ironic prison of entrepreneurship. And then once we work towards that goal together of seeing that many entrepreneurs set free, I want to work with them together to help 10,000 people escape poverty and mediocrity through entrepreneurship. So that's my vision. That's what I want to see accomplished in this world.
I love that. And your book, which did launch today, is called Exit Without Exiting: How to Exit Your Business Without Selling It and Begin Living the Exit Lifestyle Much Sooner Than You Ever Thought Possible. So let's talk about what is the exit lifestyle.
I think for everybody, it's going to be a little different. But what I think we have in our brains about what it means to exit is this place where we sell the business and we don't ever have to worry about money again. I think that's what everybody thinks it means to exit. It's like you're sold the business, a PE firm or VC firm comes in and buys you, and you're done. You go buy a new Ferrari and you have a yacht. The reality is that doesn't happen for most. I think like 2% of people ever get to experience that type of exit from a business. But a version of whatever that lifestyle would be for you when you had that money can be lived now without having to sell the business. So for some people, that exit lifestyle would mean just not having to set an alarm anymore. Some people would say, well, I want to travel the world. Other people say, well, I want to start other businesses. Other people want to say, I want to do mission work. Whatever it happens to be, what I believe is I believe that you can live a version of the exit lifestyle now, even while you own the business, as long as you're not being slave to the operations of the business day in and day out.
Such a good word, too, because there's the age old concept being an entrepreneur is the only place where you quit a 40-hour job to work 60 to 80 hours a week.
Yeah.
How do we get beyond that uh, company slavery mentality to actually being truly free in our business?
Well, that you said mentality, and that in fact is what it is, Steve. It is a mindset. It's a false mindset perpetuated by Instagram and TikTok gurus who tell you that it's all about the hustle, it's all about the grind. Don't sleep. You can sleep when you're dead. Work hard, and all of this is perpetuated and has been for many years. It's just become much more popular in the past decade or so. But what's happened is that as younger people or even people my age who started as an entrepreneur much later in their life, I didn't start until my 30s, but we believe that that's the way it is, and our expectation and our mindset is that entrepreneurship is hard. Now that doesn't mean it's simple or that it's not easy, but that we believe that it's a hard road to hoe, that you have to work 90-hour weeks, that you've got to do all that, and that's simply not true. Now, is that a lot of people's experience? For sure. But if we're going to escape from that, we have to first change our mindset. And one of the things that I believe, and I talk about this in the book, is I believe that you can successfully operate a business in less than 20 hours a week. My goal is 10, but I think you can operate less than 20 hours a week without losing any profit. Now think about this: if you're owning and operating a business that's bringing in several $1 million a year, and you're taking home, let's say you're taking home $500,000, that's a pretty standard. If you're running a pretty successful multi-million-dollar business, that's pretty standard take home pay for an entrepreneur. What if you could keep taking that $500,000 home every year, but you cut your hours from 50 to 60 down to 20 or 10 even? One of the companies that I own that I started back in 2010, I literally only put in 10 hours a year into the business. And it's a multi-million-dollar business. It's running fine without me. I believe that you can do that because I did it. So I'm not talking about what I think could happen. This is based on my actual experience and now the experience of my clients.
Now, I want to be clear, what you're talking about isn't something either A, that's woo woo, or two, some kind of magical hope, wish, and dream. It is actually something that both you've done, as well as there are some very practical things you need to do and to make it happen. I'm assuming that probably the next piece of the conversation is talking about what systems do you have in place to allow you to be able to do that. Is that correct?
Well, you would think so, and in fact, it is part of what I talk about in the book. It's part of my core concepts that I teach, but it's not the first one. And what's funny is that people like you, Steve, everybody makes that first assumption. Just put systems in place and you'll be fine. Well, the reality is systems are indeed important. Systems and processes are the third piece of my four-piece puzzle that I teach people how to. If you put these pieces of puzzle together, you could exit. But it's only the third piece, and they're sequential. Because if you put systems and processes in place, but you haven't yet first know how to delegate, and you haven't yet learned how to deal with your stress in the business, what you're doing is you're going to put systems in place where you'll still be the savior of the system, and it will be a stress-based system where it's acting on it's actually reacting to the urgent matter at hand, not doing what's necessary to keep business progressing. So the four concepts that I teach, the four core principles, which I reveal in the book through the characters of Edward and Cheryl and James as my prototypes for showing you how this works, I show that the first core principle is you have to embrace delegation. And most entrepreneurs think that they're doing it right, but they end up practicing either confiscation or abdication and not true delegation. And I show you how to do that. Number two, I'll talk about how to eliminate stress, because stress, how you operate as the founder, as the owner of the business, bleeds into the employees, which bleeds into the customers and the vendors. So if you can learn how stress affects everything and de-stress the business, you have a much cleaner path towards exiting. And then the third step is systems and processes, which you're 100% right. You've got to get those in place, because systems don't take a day off. Systems don't take sick days. Systems don't have babies. Systems they can run, and you can plop new people in if you've put the right ones in. And the fourth step is investing in people. And there is a financial way that you can invest in people to make this work. And there's also the other side of investing, which means to furnish with power, authority, and rank. And so if you invest in your people the right way, you've got this core system, you've got delegation, you've got the stress elimination, you've got the systems and processes, and you've got the right people. And those continue to feed one another. That's what this book is about.
Now, a person, of course, needs to get the book and read all of them and not just be like, oh, well, Jason told me the thing, so now I can just go off and do it all on my own. But I am noticing a thread in what you were saying, and that's essentially the word let go, which is really hard for us as entrepreneurs, because it's like, well, nobody's going to do it as well as I do. Well, if I don't worry about the money, then the money won't come in. I mean, on every single one of those four things you said, I think it's almost ingrained in who we are as entrepreneurs that we always take responsibility for things. So how can we still be that deeply passionate and responsible person, and also let go of all the things you're talking about?
Well, the answer is it's just like what I was talking about earlier. This is mindset. Imagine the arrogance of anybody saying to you, you could never do something as good as I can. I mean, if I said that to you right now, you would think that was an arrogant statement. And it might in fact be true, but regardless of the truth of the matter, it comes off as arrogant. But that is in fact how most entrepreneurs work. They they look at their employees that they're paying salaries to, they've hired, and they put into positions, and they give off the subtle, sometimes not so subtle, cues of, you'll never be as good as me. And how arrogant is that? Because the truth is, at one point in the past, you sucked at it. Like, you weren't good at it. You didn't know. When I started my lighting company in 2010, I didn't know anything about lighting. I knew how to sell. That was really my core strength. I knew how to do that. I didn't know anything about lighting. I didn't know how to get leads. I didn't know any of that stuff. I sucked at all that stuff, but I figured it out. So how arrogant would it be of me 3-5 years into that deal and hired a new employee to help with something and say, I just need you to push paper around because you're never going to be as good as me. That's a mindset. That is a mindset that keeps entrepreneurs trapped in what I call the ironic prison of entrepreneurship, which is why I want to see through this book and through my podcast and through my coaching and through my public speaking appearances, I want to see people get free from that. And it starts with these 6 inches between the ears, man. We got to get the brain set right. And then we put the tactics in place.
Well, let's talk a little bit then. Just give a little bit of teaching. Again, they need to get the book to get all of it. But um, where do we start when we've been in that hustle, hustle, hustle mindset? Where do we start breaking that cycle and begin to really embrace what you're teaching?
So I hate to be so repetitive, but it is a mindset thing, and you're going to have to ditch the cape, the superhero cape that you've been wearing as the entrepreneur, solving every issue, putting out every fire, being the center of everything. You've got to realize that's not going to keep. You can't scale yourself, right? I mean, you can't do that. So you've got to figure out how to manage your mindset, because your reality is directly related to the way you think. So if your business relies on you, it's because you think it needs you. So we've got to change the way you think. What we think about, we bring about. So the first thing you got to start doing is you got to understand that if you continue to rely upon yourself in that business, it is never going to grow beyond you. And as good as you are, you still are susceptible to being hit by a bus, getting a sickness, getting ill, having a mental collapse at any time. I mean, that happens. We go through these nervous breakdowns. Like, any of that could happen. And then what happens to your team? What happens to your company? I was having a conversation last night with a friend of mine. He's a very, very successful entrepreneur here in the Nashville area. And we went down to the North American unveiling of the new Ferrari SUV, which was the Pro Sangue, I think is how you say it. It was a cool trip. So we're going down there and we're talking business. And he was asking me about my book. And I said, if we as the entrepreneur keep running the business and it's the center of the business, and then something happens to us, what happens? And he had to say, well, my business would probably take a huge leap backwards, if not close down. And that's the reality. So we have to start, Steve, with the mindset. We got to understand that it's arrogant to think that nobody can do it better than you, because that's not true, because they will eventually do it better than you. I've got stories that I've got somebody that works for me that's much better at me now at one thing that at the time I was the best guy in the world at it when I hired him. Now he's better than me. So it's arrogant to think that. And then second, it's selfish. This is the other thing. It's selfish to believe that you should be in the middle of the business, because you're actually putting your employees and their families and their livelihoods at risk, because their ability to make an income is based on your ability to show up every day.
I love that so much. You got my mind spinning now. I'm trying to conduct the interview and totally rewrite my whole business concept all at the same time. You know what I mean? We do the best that we can, and we are where we are. But I think it was really interesting that you said when you started the lighting business, the only thing out of all the stuff was you knew how to sell. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
assuming that what you just said in that last one is that now you actually have a guy that's doing the selling that may not have started there, but now he's actually better at selling that stuff than what you were. Is that kind of what you were alluding to?
Yeah, well, so specifically, it wasn't our sales guy that I was thinking about, but but that is also a true story. But I hired a guy named Ricky right out of graduate school 10 years ago. And at the time, I was doing all the sales, all the vendor relations, ordering all the product, doing all the lighting audits. I was a one-man show. I was doing I had an assistant. That was it. So I hired Ricky to handle the operation side of things. I needed him to go count light bulbs. I needed him to order things from the vendors. I needed him to handle that. I needed him to negotiate pricing with vendors. And at first, he sucked at it. Like, he wasn't very good. Not a fireable offense good, but like he just wasn't very good at it because he didn't know. Well, today, 10 years later, it didn't take 10 years. It was a lot sooner than that. But 10 years later, this guy is probably the number one lighting guy in the world. I would put him up against anybody. He knows things much, much deeper than I know, because for him, his role as the employee was to just deal in that one area. As the CEO, as the founder of the business, I've got a lot of things I got to pay attention to. I got to pay attention to the vision. I got to make sure that I'm building an asset. I got other things that are more important than ordering lights. So if I'm paying attention to ordering lights, I can't pay attention to what's more important. And that's what the book really, really dives into, about what's really important. What should you really be paying attention to?
I love that. So many good things in this book. And they do absolutely need to go to Amazon and get the book. It is in the description, but I am going to drop the URL in the comments as well, so that people who don't know how to read descriptions can just look at it in the URL in the comments and get it there. Um, but for people who want to go even more than the book, um, what kind of work do you do with people, and how can they work with you?
So one of the things that I do, you can go to my website, therealjasonduncan.com, and then slash book will tell you all about the book. And there's a link directly to Amazon where you can pick the book up. I'm a coach and a speaker, and I work with coach. I work with my coaching clients. I do some one-on-one stuff. I don't take very many one-on-one clients because just limited time, but I do some group coaching. I also have online courses. One of the courses that is talked about in the book significantly because it is the key to learning all this stuff. It's called the 10-Hour Entrepreneur. It's an online course, takes 10 weeks to go through. Also includes live coaching with me on a weekly basis. And then I also have a mastermind for those that are a little bit more advanced in their experience as an entrepreneur. You know, they're doing, minimum $2 to $3 million a year in revenue up to maybe 15. I take those guys and we spend a year or more together diving into their business as a group and figuring out how to exit the business, whether that means to sell, which I have some clients who end up selling, or it's just to let other people operate it. So you can get in touch with me at therealjasonduncan.com or on any social media platform. I'm at the real Jason Duncan.
Love that. Well, Jason, thanks so much for spending some time with us. Leave us with some words of encouragement before you go.
All right. So no matter how hard it is right now, no matter how deep the hole is that you've dug, or how high the mountaintop is that you're riding on, you don't have to stay stuck or capped. I can look at it this way. You don't have to say trapped or capped. You can do it either way. Trapped in the business or capped by your ability to grow it to the next level. You don't have to do that. The exit without exiting model will give you that ability to get out. So go read the book. It's not very expensive. As a matter of fact, right now, today, I think it's only like $6 at our pre-launch sale. You can get it. It'll be more expensive later, but go pick up the book, read the stories of Edward and Cheryl and James. I tell stories. It's not just me teaching. Go read those books. And no matter how high the mountain is that you're on or how deep the hole is that you're in, there is a way out, and I can help you.
Jason, thanks so much. I really appreciate you spending the time with us here today.
Thank you, Steve.